This is the latest New Holland T5 utility, and it essentially bridges the gap between the higher spec T5 Electro Command, which we tested out at towards the end of last year, and the top end of the smaller T4 range. This is the T5.105, 107 horsepower, FPT powered, New Holland's own transmission, so let's see what that combination is capable of. In the box you will find 3 ranges, changed by this lever down near your right hand knee. The range changes aren't that bad, but there is lack of knuckle space around the cab's right hand console, so you do kind of end up having to change with your fingertips rather than being able to gorilla grip the range change lever. You've then got in each of those ranges another 4 gears, and then within those 4 gears you've got another 2 splits, so you've got a fairly decent amount of choice. Gear changes are fairly slick. For the maybe shorter operator, when the main gear sticks in 3rd, it can be a little bit of a reach, and then when you pull it right back into 4th, your knuckles sometimes do sort of just drag on this first spool lever here. As for the rest of the cab layout, as you can see, it's in typical Italian style. Everything's nice and curvy, nice and airy, nice and light. The dash, probably one of the clearest in the group test of the 5 tractors. Very simple. You've got 3 analog dials for the main bits, a nice digital display in the middle for PTO speeds, and then you've got area meters and that kind of thing, and you can look at fuel use. And it also shows your shuttle direction selection, because unlike any of the other tractors in the group test, whenever you move the left hand shuttle, it returns to centre. Now that's not too bad on its larger tractors when you're doing field work, because you don't shuttle as much in the field, but when you're doing loader work, confined spaces, in yards, what you want to be doing is being able to feel which direction this tractor is going in just by feeling the shuttle essentially. The trouble is when it returns to centre, just by feel alone, you have no idea what direction this tractor is about to set off in. The only indication you get is on the digital dash with a nice big arrow, and then neutral selection is hit the end of the stick there, or just pop it in neutral with any of the other gear sticks that's in the cab. Moving on to my right hand side, spool levers are perfectly positioned, and then you've got the good old trusty electric rear linkage control, as you find on pretty much every single New Holland from this tractor upwards. Throttle is also the same. There's no engine memory on this one, so it's just input as you go. And then it does go a little bit Italian towards the rear of the right hand console. Yes, this is nice and curvy where the 4-wheel drive and diff lock buttons are, but it's not exactly natural. Why don't they just put them here? Right there. And then for climate control, that's all scattered up this right hand pillar, and then there's a few isolator switches, window wipers up that side. So it is a bit of a scattergun approach when it came to the rocker switch positioning. In terms of performance, well, on the loader, I think it's about 65 litres per minute, something like that, the hydraulic flow, and it does reward with decent cycle times. Loader actions are relatively swift. I think from the cycle time test that we've carried out, it came pretty much equal with Kubota, so it's kind of joint second in terms of loader lift speed. Visibility wise, got to be one of the best of the 5 tractors here. Panoramic views are great, nice curved rear windows, got a lower rear window here so you can see down to the hitch and whatnot, and then it's also boosted by this pretty much almost full width roof window, and then a nice skinny cross member there as well, which means you can easily see your loader when you're working at full height, unlike quite a few of the other tractors in this test. In terms of practicalities, there are a couple of cubby holes. There's one to my right there, there's a nice flat area on my left, there's a cup holder there. There's also a bit of decent space around the base of the seat as well, which you don't often get these days, so you could find room for your butty box there. No doubt lots of baler string will find its way down there as well, but overall then, the T5's cab is a half decent place to spend a working day. It's just a couple of gripes. I would like proper detents for the shuttle where they stay. Get rid of this style for style's sake, put the buttons where they should be, under your fingertips, and make a bit more knuckle room for orangutans like myself to get around the range lever, and that'll finish it off quite nicely. Now, to keep the windows clear and you cool or warm, depending on what the weather's doing, I think there are 10 vents all dotted around the centre console, which is fine, keeps the front half of the cab sorted, that looks after that. However, there's not any vents, I believe, for the rear. So as you can see, the rear of the tractor is now steaming up already. As for all the key loader tractor elements, such as stability, manoeuvrability, turning circle, it does score quite highly. We measured the turning circle in this test, and it was one of the tightest here. Tighter than the Massey, I think, but not quite as tight as the Kubota. Certainly tighter than the Armatrack and the Zeta. So as for getting around yards and tight spaces, it does the job. And stability wise, well, we've got 900 kilos slung out the back. We've also got some wheel weights on, and it is pushing like a demon. As you can see, I'm diving into the wall. Leave the wall. Walls are good. A bit like the M6 on a Friday afternoon, the rear end of the T5 utility, you could say, is quite congested. However, most things are fairly